I never thought I would find myself in a situation where I had to resort to spying on my own family, but here I was, standing in the shadows of my living room, the flickering light of my concealed camera casting eerie shapes on the wall. My heart raced as I stared at the blank screen of my laptop, waiting for a glimpse of the truth. What if I was wrong? What if my suspicions about my son Mark and his wife Lauren were unfounded? The last thing I wanted was to distrust my child, but every instinct in my body told me something wasn't right. Every Tuesday, Lauren would show up at our apartment as if it were just another day. Sometimes I would hear her laugh with Mark from the kitchen, their voices light and carefree. Other times, a chill would creep over me as I listened to their conversations, noticing the subtle shifts in their tone. It was a quiet unease that planted seeds of doubt in my mind. The kitchen table seemed to hold more secrets than meals. I was convinced it had witnessed whispers of infidelity. The first time I noticed Lauren's peculiar behavior was a few months ago. She had arrived late, a bit too disheveled for my liking, late enough that I wondered where she had been. I shook my head, trying to push the thought aside, but then came the envelope, a small, nondescript thing that seemed to appear out of nowhere, slipping from her hands onto our living room table. When I blinked, it was gone. I wanted to believe it was nothing, just a harmless mistake, but my instincts told me otherwise. It became my obsession to figure out what was happening behind the smiles and laughter. "Olivia, you look tired," my friend Rita said during our weekly coffee meetup. "Everything all right at home?" "Yeah, everything's fine," I replied, forcing a smile. But was it? I could feel the heaviness in my chest clenching tighter each day. Just too much work, I guess. "Work isn't everything. You need to take care of yourself," she urged gently, her eyes searching mine. "You know I'm always here if you want to talk." I appreciated her concern, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my world was crumbling around me. After that day, I made a decision. I wanted proof, something concrete that could either confirm my fears or set my mind at ease. Hence, the camera found its home in the corner of our living room, discreet but eyeing everything. As the days passed, I forced myself to stay calm, but my heart raced every time I replayed the footage. Finally, the moment came. I clicked play, my fingers trembling, and watched in silence as the screen came to life. There she was, Lauren, stepping into our home, looking every bit the perfect daughter-in-law. My stomach twisted painfully as I noted her casual demeanor, the way she walked around like she owned the place. She moved to our couch, casually tossing her coat aside, and I held my breath. "Oh, hey, babe," Mark greeted her, his voice filled with an affection that felt wrong. "Hey, sweetie," she replied, her tone dripping with sweetness. I clenched my fists, waiting for my suspicions to be confirmed. But what happened next shattered me. They sat close together, laughing, sharing whispers while their hands brushed against each other, lighting a flame of betrayal in my chest. My heart sank. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. How had it come to this? I thought I knew my son, his values, his morals. I had raised him to be better than this. The next Tuesday was the same. The rhythm of their deceit became painfully predictable. Lauren arrived, welcomed with open arms, and once again, I watched the same scene unfold. She left another envelope on the table before disappearing. I was determined to find out what was inside, but when I approached the table, the envelope was gone again. Something was off, and it only fueled my drive for answers. I decided I wasn't going to just sit back and let this happen. I would take control of my life and my situation. As the days rolled by, my heart felt heavier with each passing hour. Every Tuesday, I braced myself for the arrival of my daughter-in-law, Lauren. It was no longer just suspicion. It had morphed into a growing dread that consumed my thoughts. I knew I had to dig deeper, not just for my sake, but for Mark's too. He deserved the truth, even if it shattered my world. With the hidden camera setup, I studied the footage from the last few weeks. Each Tuesday, Lauren arrived at the apartment around 4 in the afternoon. She would slip in quietly, her demeanor calm and collected. My soul ached as I remembered the laughter that once echoed in our home during family gatherings. Now it was replaced with the creeping silence of betrayal. As I watched the recorded clips, I noticed something curious. Lauren had a habit of placing a brown envelope on the kitchen counter shortly after entering. Then, like clockwork, she would wait, pacing nervously before leaving again. The envelope seemed innocent at first, but the way it vanished without a trace filled me with unease. What was in that envelope? Money? Messages? My heart raced with each new thought. Determined to find answers, I decided to confront her. I could no longer remain a passive observer in my own life. I had to unearth the truth. I called Mark, hoping he wouldn't pick up. I wasn't ready to face him just yet, not when I felt so vulnerable. After a few rings, he eventually answered with his usual upbeat tone. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" he asked, his voice bright. "Mark, can we talk? In person?" I replied, biting back my emotions. "Sure, how about tomorrow for lunch?" he suggested. "Okay," I managed to say, my heart pounding. As the hours stretched toward our meeting, I felt the weight of my decision. Should I tell Mark everything? Would he believe me? What if I was wrong? Doubt crept in like a thief in the night. But I couldn't waver now. I had come too far. The following day, I met Mark at a small cafe he loved. As I sat across from him, he looked as relaxed as ever, completely unaware of the storm brewing beneath my calm facade. "Mom, you've been a bit quiet lately. Everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowing with concern. I hesitated, the words caught in my throat. "I've noticed some things about you and Lauren," I finally said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Like what?" he replied, his expression shifting from concern to confusion. "Tuesday afternoons, Lauren comes over while you're at work," I began, searching his eyes for signs of understanding. "I've seen her leave something here." "Mom, that doesn't mean anything. Maybe she just, I don't know, wanted to surprise me or something," he shrugged, clearly defensive before I even finished. "Mark, please, I think it's more than that," I pressed, feeling a mix of anger and desperation. "I think she's hiding something. I've set up a camera." "Wait, you did what?" he interrupted, his voice rising. "I needed to know, Mark. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing," I said, my voice trembling. "You shouldn't have done that," he shot back, his cheeks reddening. "You're invading our privacy, Mom." I took a deep breath, attempting to steady my racing heart. "And what about my privacy? What if your marriage is based on lies? What if she's cheating on you?" "Stop, just stop." Mark slammed his hands on the table, drawing glances from other patrons. "You're making this worse. You don't understand our lives." "Then help me understand. Tell me why Lauren is here every Tuesday and why she has that envelope. Please," I pleaded, feeling the walls closing in around me. Mark's expression softened, but only slightly. I... I don't know. Maybe she's just handling some personal stuff." I couldn't hide my disbelief. "You expect me to believe that? Mark, I care too much to let this go. You need to see what's happening." His gaze dropped to the table, and I could see the internal struggle in his eyes. I sat in my living room, the tension so thick it was almost suffocating. The hidden camera had been my silent witness, capturing moments I now wished I could erase from my mind. The footage showed them together, laughing and whispering secrets that should have been reserved for the bond between husband and wife. I felt a growing storm of emotions, betrayal, anger, and a strangely comforting sense of control. I was no longer just a passive observer in my own life. I was prepared to take charge. I took a deep breath and dialed Mark's number. He answered on the first ring, his, "Hey, Mom, what's up?" "Can we talk?" I managed to say, trying to keep my tone steady. "It's important." "Sure, do you want me to come over?" he asked, a hint of concern creeping into his voice. "Yes, please, now." When he arrived, I was already pacing. His expression shifted from casual curiosity to something more serious as soon as he stepped inside. "What's going on? You look off." "Take a seat, Mark," I instructed, motioning toward the couch. As he sat down, I could see the confusion in his eyes. He had no idea how much I had seen. "Mom, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" His tone was softer now, but I could sense the apprehension behind it. It's about you and Lauren. I watched his face closely, looking for any signs of guilt. I've been watching you both. His brows furrowed, and I pressed on, unable to hold back the floodwaters any longer. I know what you've been doing. I've seen the videos, Mark. I saw her come here on Tuesdays, and I know about the envelope. Videos? What videos? He stood up abruptly, pacing the room like a caged animal. What are you talking about, Mom? Lauren, I said firmly, I know she's been coming here when you're not home. I know about the envelope she leaves. He stopped in his tracks, the color draining from his face. That's ridiculous, he shouted defensively. You're imagining things. I'm not. I have proof. I want you to be honest with me, with yourself. What's happening between you two? I can't believe you're doing this, he said, running a hand through his hair. You're spying on me? This isn't fair. It's not fair. What's happening is not fair, Mark. My voice trembled with emotion. You're betraying your marriage. You need to face it. He fell silent, avoiding my gaze. I could see the internal conflict raging within him. I don't know what you think you saw, he began slowly, but Lauren is just a friend. A friend? I shot back. Friends do not share those kinds of moments, Mark. It's time to be honest. Mom, I don't want to argue about this right now, he said, the defensiveness creeping back into his voice. Maybe you don't understand how complicated things are. Complicated? I echoed incredulously. You think what you're doing is complicated? You're destroying your family. I saw the flash of anger in his eyes, and for a moment I thought we might be at a breaking point. But then he sighed, his arms dropping to his side. You don't get it. It's easier to pretend everything is fine. Pretending won't fix anything, Mark. You need to confront this. We locked eyes for a moment, the air heavy with unspoken words. Slowly, I saw the fight drain from him. What do you want me to say? He asked, almost defeated. Tell me the truth. Do you love her? Do you want to leave your marriage? I found myself asking the questions I dreaded to hear answered. He hesitated. I don't know. Maybe it's just a phase. A phase? You've put your family in so much pain. You need to decide what you really want. Mark's shoulders slumped. I just need time to think. Time? You have to confront the impact of your actions, Mark. Locking the door won't change reality. His silence spoke volumes, and I felt a strange mixture of pity and disappointment. I knew I had to protect myself, to reclaim my own life. From now on, I'm changing the locks, I announced, feeling that sense of control swell within me. I won't allow this to continue, whatever it is between you two. When I decided to change the locks, it felt like the final act in a play I never wanted to star in. I had spent too long feeling powerless and vulnerable in my own home, like a spectator in a story that was no longer about me. Now, I was taking control. As I stood there waiting for the locksmith, my heart raced with a mix of relief and anxiety. Mom, are you sure about this? Mark's voice came through the phone, laced with disbelief. He was still in that denial phase, refusing to acknowledge the evidence I had laid out before him. Yes, Mark, I'm sure. I can't let anyone walk in here whenever they please anymore, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. What talking about? You can't just lock her out. She's my wife. Your wife who is lying to you, I snapped back, the pent-up frustration spilling over. There was silence on the line, and I pictured Mark's face, twisted in confusion and anger. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I pressed. I have the recordings. I saw the envelope. I saw her. That was it. The reality of his situation finally hit him. Mom, this isn't the right way to handle things. Dad wouldn't have wanted this. The mention of my late husband twisted my stomach. This isn't about your father. This is about you and Lauren. Your life. You need to wake up. I hung up and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I was done arguing. I needed to get back to feeling strong, not just for myself, but for Emily, my daughter-in-law, who had unwittingly gotten caught in the middle of this mess. The locksmith arrived, and with a few quick motions, he replaced the old locks with fresh ones. As he worked, I felt a growing sense of security wash over me. Each click was like a layer of protective armor. I was taking a stand, and there was no turning back now. "Here you go, all set," he said, handing me a new key. I felt the cool metal in my palm, a tangible reminder of my newfound resolve. "Thank you," I said, letting a smile break through the weight of my thoughts. After the locksmith left, I paced the living room, staring at the wall where the camera was hidden. The moment I turned it on that day, I had set in motion a series of events that would change everything. I had gone from being a passive observer to an active player in my own life. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the room in warm hues, I dialed Emily's number. She answered after a few rings, her voice upbeat. "Hey Mom, what's up?" I took a moment, remembering the uncertainty that had stuck to me like a film, how I had tried to shield her from the storm brewing between Mark and Lauren. "Can we talk? It's important." "Sure, is everything okay?" she asked, concern slipping into her tone. "I need to tell you about the changes I've made, changes I'm proud of," I said. "What kind of changes?" "I changed the locks at my place." There was a pause, and I could almost hear her processing my words. "You did? Mom, wow, that's taking charge. I've been pushed around for too long. I'm done feeling like a victim." "Good for you." "What about Mark and Lauren? What are you going to do?" "I'm going to confront them face to face, with the truth," I stated firmly. "Be careful, Mom," she warned. "You know how Mark can be." "I know, but I have to stand up for myself. I have proof now. I won't let him manipulate me into silence anymore." "Let me know how it goes. I'm here for you," Emily said, her voice steady and reassuring. "Thank you, sweetheart. I can't tell you how much that means to me." As I hung up, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was no longer just a mother caught in a web of betrayal. I was a woman reclaiming her strength. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed in my ears, leaving a heavy silence behind. I had just finished changing the locks when I heard my son Mark's car pull into the driveway. He walked in, his shoulders tight, a storm brewing in his eyes. I straightened my back and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what I had to do. "Mom," he began, his voice taut with tension. "Can we talk?" "Of course, Mark. We need to talk," I said, keeping my tone steady, masking the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. I gestured for him to sit down, and he sank into the chair across from me, a frown etched on his face. "What's this about?" he asked, trying to gauge my mood. "It's about Lauren," I replied, my pulse quickening, and what I saw. His eyes narrowed, suspicion flashing across his face. "What do you mean? If this is about the stupid rumors?" "Not rumors, evidence." I took a deep breath. "I installed a camera, Mark. I saw everything that's been happening." You did what?" Every Tuesday, she was here, leaving envelopes that I can only assume contained more than just sweet nothings. "I know you've been lying to yourself, but it's happening. I have proof." He jumped up, his hands balled into fists. "Mom, you need to stop. This isn't helping anyone." I studied myself, refusing to let his anger intimidate me. "This isn't about helping anyone, Mark. This is about truth. You have to confront what you've been doing. You owe Lauren, and you owe me, the honesty I deserve as your mother." He laughed, but there was no humor in it, only bitterness. "Why are you so invested in this? Do you want to ruin my life? You're the one who raised me to think that family comes first, no matter what." "That's exactly why I can't stand by and watch you hurt her," I said, my voice firm. "You're making choices that affect more lives than just your own. You think this is just a phase, but it's not. You're cheating on your wife, on your family." His expression softened, if only for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "Mom, I love you, but I can't deal with this right now. I need to figure things out." He started for the door, but I caught his arm. "No, Mark, you need to listen to me. You're afraid to face the truth, and that's why you're running. If you don't want this life, then change it, for everyone's sake." He hesitated, his eyes darting to the floor, as if searching for an escape route. I can't handle this." "Then help me to understand why you are doing this. Why hurt Lauren like this?" "Because I felt trapped," he admitted after a moment. "I thought I could find happiness elsewhere, but this," he gestured around the room, "it's all too much." I released his arm, finally hearing the brokenness in his voice. Mark, I know life can feel overwhelming, but turning to someone else is not the solution. It's running away from the love and commitment you made. You need to face your fears, not hide from them. He turned away from me, his shoulders slumped. I don't know, Mom. I'm just so lost. I get it, I said, my tone softening. But facing this doesn't mean your life is over. It just means you have to start anew, in a way that honors everyone involved. He slowly turned to meet my gaze, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of hope behind the turmoil. Maybe you're right, he whispered. But what if I mess it up again? You can only try, Mark. You cannot control everything, but you can control your choices and their consequences. It's time to stop being a spectator and take back your life. With that, the tension in the room shifted. I could tell he was beginning to process everything, the walls he had built around him slowly crumbling. I think I need to talk to Lauren, he finally said, determination creeping into his voice. Yes, you do. More importantly, you need to be honest with yourself, I said, a sense of relief washing over me. But remember, she deserves the truth. I'll do it, he declared, standing up straighter. The day had come at last, the day of the hearing. I was sitting in the waiting area, my heart racing as I glanced around at the people coming and going. They all seemed to have their own stories, tales of love, betrayal, or perhaps redemption. I had only one story on my mind, and it was my own. Mark had agreed to come with me, an unexpected but welcomed gesture. He seemed to carry a mixture of remorse and determination, and I couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, yet filled with a heavy weight. "I think so. I have to be," I replied, feeling my palms dampen with sweat. A little while later, we were ushered into the courtroom. The room was filled with a cold air, the kind that makes your skin prickle. I took a deep breath, attempting to calm the storm in my chest. As we took our seats, I locked eyes with the opposing side, Lauren, along with her attorney. She looked poised, her confidence masking the deceit she had woven into our lives. The judge entered, and the atmosphere shifted. "We're here to discuss the allegations made by Miss Olivia regarding emotional distress and the breach of trust in her family," he said, his voice steady. I could feel Mark tense beside me. I reached out and squeezed his hand, reminding him that we were in this together. The hearing unfolded, and I knew this was my moment to present the truth, my truth. It felt surreal to lay all my findings bare, each detail meticulously collected during those heavy days of suspicion. I spoke clearly, detailing every moment I had witnessed, every envelope left behind that held secrets too heavy to bear. "Lauren entered my home without permission," I said, my voice firm as I looked directly at her. "She betrayed not just my son, but me as well. Trust is not something you can steal and return. Once it's gone, it leaves devastation in its wake." Lauren's attorney rose to object, trying to paint me as paranoid and emotionally unstable. It felt like a slap, but I stood my ground. "I am not paranoid. I am a mother who discovered a painful truth," I countered, holding my head high. "Is there evidence of wrongdoing, or is this merely speculation?" Lauren's attorney challenged, a hint of condescension dripping from his words. I felt a spark of righteousness ignite within me. I have video evidence and witness accounts from those who saw her enter my home. This is more than speculation. It's a reality I've been forced to confront. Mark shifted in his seat, his expression one of regret and realization. He had always trusted Lauren more than he ever trusted me. He had lived in a bubble, shielded from the truths that I had painstakingly laid bare before him. Now I could see the walls he had built beginning to crumble. "Your Honor," Mark finally spoke up, his voice shaky yet resolute. "I have been blind to my wife's actions. I see it now, and I cannot stand by and let this continue. My mother deserves to be heard, and the truth must come out." I glanced at my son, feeling an overwhelming sense of pride. Here he was, confronting the reality of what had been done to us. I wanted to reach out and hold him, to tell him that everything would be okay, but I had to let him find his strength. As we proceeded, it was clear that the tide had begun to shift. The pieces of our story were falling into place, and the judge's expression shifted from neutrality to concern as he listened intently. Each witness I had brought forth, each piece of evidence painted a picture that was hard to deny. Finally, after what felt like hours, we reached the conclusion. The judge looked at us with a mixture of seriousness and compassion. Given the evidence, it is clear that there has been a breach of trust and a manipulation of family bonds. I will rule in favor of Miss Olivia. A wave of relief washed over me, yet it was tinged with sadness. The court's decision didn't erase the hurt that had been inflicted, nor would it mend what had been broken. But it felt like a harbinger of change, a new chapter waiting to be written. As we walked out of the courtroom, Mark turned to me, his eyes glistening. I sat in the quiet of my living room, the memories of the courtroom still fresh in my mind. The victory felt sweet, yet it was tinged with a bittersweet aftertaste. I had finally taken control, not just of my home, but of my life. Watching Mark and Lauren crumble under the weight of their deceit had filled me with a sense of justice. But was it enough to erase the hurt they'd caused? Mom? Mark's voice broke into my thoughts like a sudden storm. He stood at the door, hesitantly stepping inside, his eyes searching mine for answers. I could see the conflict within him, guilt, shame, and a shadow of defiance. Can we talk? Talk? I glanced at the space between us. I had always wanted to guide him in the right direction, but now it felt as if I was standing on the other side of a vast chasm. What's left to say, Mark? He stepped closer, his hands stuffed deep into his pockets. Please, I just want to understand why you did what you did, why you went that far. I exhaled slowly, collecting my thoughts. As memories washed over me, the nights spent worrying, the moments of self-doubt, the agonizing questions. I did it because I loved you, because I couldn't sit idly by while you hurt yourself and your family. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? He laughed humorlessly, shaking his head. You invaded my privacy, Mom. You spied on us. Spied? The word cut deep, and I could feel my heart racing. I gathered evidence about a betrayal that was tearing our lives apart. You and Lauren had built a web of lies, and I refused to be trapped in it any longer. Mark's expression softened, and for a moment, I saw the boy I had raised instead of the man who had broken my heart. I know I messed up, he murmured, but Lauren, it wasn't supposed to be like this. When you choose to be dishonest, it never is it? I felt anger rising within me, but it was laced with a hint of sadness. We're all affected by your choices, Mark, not just you. He stared at me, his eyes glistening. Do you think I wanted this? I felt so alone, Mom. She was there when I needed someone to listen. But I see now how wrong it was. It's not about her. It's about you standing up and taking responsibility. You pushed away those who loved you. And for what? I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the moment. You need to fix this, Mark, starting with Lauren. She needs to be held accountable. I know. He looked down, the weight of his guilt suffocating him. I'm going to talk to her. I just didn't know how. Be honest. Be forthright about your feelings, I said, my voice steady. You've made choices that affect more than just you. Your wife and your son deserve the truth. He nodded, his determination flickering back to life. I want to fix this. I really do. Then do it. Don't run from it anymore. The strength in my voice surprised me. It felt new and invigorating, like a flame igniting after a long period of darkness. After that conversation, Mark left with a sense of purpose. I watched him leave, realizing that this was more than just about him. This was about healing, about finding a way to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. I sank into the couch, a mixture of dread and hope swirling within me. In the days that followed, I took time for myself, seeking solace in my own company. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, sharing my story and offering support. Hearing the stories of resilience from other women reignited a fire within me, reminding me that I was never alone. One evening, as I shared my experience with a group gathered in the common room, I could see the weight they carried in their eyes, the struggles they faced every day. You're not defined by your past, I told them, my voice steady. Every step you take towards healing is a step towards reclaiming your power. Afterward, one woman approached me, her eyes filled with gratitude and understanding. "You helped me see that I'm not alone in this," she said. "Thank you for sharing." As the weeks turned to months, I began to find peace in my new life.